this video, I'm going to show you how to set up an Autocad drawing that will be exported in a DXF format that can be used in your field surveyor's Leica CS20 field controller. So this option is an alternative to point stakeout. So if you're the type of person that prefers to stake out a foundation by selecting and applying points to every corner with elevations and supplying your field surveyor with points, this option gives them a little bit more freedom or flexibility to work with within an Autocad environment versus working within points. So it's something that I prefer to use. Again, it gives your field surveyor a little bit more power to make field adjustments or see exactly the picture that's in front of them, what they're actually doing. Sometimes points just look like a bunch of connected dots, and you really can't see exactly what's going on. And it doesn't allow them to kind of do some quality control if they really don't have the whole picture painted kind of right in front of them. They may have it on a PDF or in a printout, but having it on a controller and actually physically walking around in your drawing on your controller is a huge advantage. So I'm going to set up this drawing, and it may not be applicable to a region such as basements. So you may not be using cellars or basements in your part of the country, but at least you kind of get a handle on how DXFs work, and you can take from this video how to convert and set up a drawing to be used in the CS20. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, or I normally would do on a new project, is I would set up a base map. This base map could basically be something that's relative to the entire site. It's a reference. It's basically I'll set up the lot numbers and the property lines and the right of way for the subdivision, so that when the field surveyor has this base map in his controller, he kind of knows where he is. You know, if this attachment, this DXF, is always on, when he's in GPS or in robotic mode and he's walking around, he knows he's on 10. So let's say today's stakeout was lot 11, and he's walking around on lot 10. And he has this base map. He'll know that he's on lot 10. That maybe there's a problem, or maybe he knows he needs to keep on walking to the east to get to lot 11. But it's kind of more of a reference. I always will set up a base map. You can put whatever you want in this base map. You can put the edge of pavement, you can put the property lines, you can put the lot lines, you can put text, street names, whatever you want, but I keep it pretty simple. And because it's a base map, it's pretty much an underlying line. I'll gray it out so that it's it's not so much in your face, it's not so much up front. It's kind of supplemental information based on whatever task he was doing that day. So what I'll do is I'll pretty much just change the colors either by layers or by selection, change all the line work, and I'll just kind of make it a gray tone. So the other thing I wanted to point out is text. So if you see in this video, when I click the actual text, it is an M text. The properties say it's an M text, and you can see how they have these little clips that allow me to kind of, if I shrink down the M text box, you can see how the text moves. So Captivate doesn't really like M text very much. So what I'll need to do is I just need to select similar of all I have 122 lots, and now I just want to basically explode it. So now when I click it, I have a text or a D text. If you were doing text and you knew this was specific for the task today, I would just do a D text and then label the line. versus an M text and then exploding it. So you just want to make sure that you have text. Okay, so now I have just this very generic base map that I plan to give to my field surveyor as a kind of a reference point, so he always knows where he is, especially when the lot numbers change from 14 to 67. So if he's staking out lot 15 today, he's not walking, or in this case, sorry, he's going to stake out 13. He walks over 14 thinking he's here, but 13's across the street. So at least having some lot numbers and again the property lines will help him with his orientation. So creating a DXF. So the command is wblock. All right. So we're going to select our objects, and just for this exercise, I'm just going to window out deselect all these. Alright, so now I have all my text, my circles, my property lines are all kind of highlighted. And put a few more over here, but for this exercise you just get the point. Alright, so I hit enter. I'm going to leave it just my settings like this. So I've selected my objects. I've selected 302 objects, which is text and lines. And pick point. I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to set my location now where I'm going to put this DXF. So I've got a folder set up, and I'm just going to call this, let's call this DXF base. File types. So you want to make sure that you're selecting a DXF. You can pick 13. 18 is our current, so it doesn't matter which one you pick. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick 18 DXF, and I'm going to hit save. And then right now it's going to write a DXF and said OK. And include map, sure. So now I have this folder that it's been written called DXF base. If I actually open up this Autocad drawing, I can double click it. And you can see that I've got a few extra lines in there. I can go ahead and erase them. I just got to remember to save this as a DXF, not a DWG, because by converting it back to a DWG, you're actually taking the DXF properties out of it. So I can clean it up if I want and get rid of that. Okay. So as you can see, all my lot lines are there, all my text is there, and file, save as. You can see it wants to save it as a DWG, and we're just going to leave it as a 2018 DXF, and save. All right, yes. And you can, again, sometimes if you can do it in the first trial, you know that your DXF has been set up appropriately. Alright, so now we're going to go in, we're going to set up. So today's task is so I'm going to clean up some of this stuff to make my life a little easier. I'm going to get rid of some contours. I'm going to get rid of the lot number. We'll leave some of this information so I can talk about setting up the Autocad drawing now. So let's imagine today's task is to stake out this foundation. But maybe in 2 months from now we're going to be staking out the driveway. Maybe we're going to be doing some grading stakeouts. There's got a wall back here we're going to stake out. So we want to do is we want to set up a DWG or a DXF with a bunch of 2D and 3D line work. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to draw an envelope around the foundation. So we're going to come to go draw building envelope polyline. Okay. Alright, so I've created an envelope. So this envelope is what we use to stake out for excavation. So when we provide these four corners in the field, they know they've got to remove everything to build, they got to excavate everything in this envelope for the foundation. Also, in my region, I will apply, I can pick the lines, I can pick multiple lines, and with either properties or quick properties, I can see that the elevation for this 2D polyline has no elevation on it. So I can change that. I can tell the field surveyor that when he goes to stake this thing out, he's going to stake this thing out to either basement floor or top of wall, or you can do, if you want to do subgrade. So it's not so much what you're staking out or what I'm going to use in this example, but whatever you would normally do in your office or your region. So in this example, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the basement floor. All right, so now if I actually pick this line and I hover over it, you can see that down here is the elevation of 313.76, which matches the basement floor. All right, so now also we're going to run the swale in. So what I might do is I might go ahead and draw a 3D polyline. All right, so use current properties. So I'm going to go ahead and say select. I'm going to set up a line, show 3D lines. Okay. And I'm going to create a swale or a break line. So I got a 321.4. So I'm going to start. All right, so 321.4 to 320 to 318 316 314. You know what? Oh, here we go. 312. All right, so now I have a 3D line. If I hover over at 314, you can see the vertices are elevated. I could also, let's do this wall. So I'm going to do this wall same way. I'm going to do a 3D line, draw 3D line, and I'm going to have the starting elevation, the top of wall. We'll do 312. I pick the just a point up because you can see it's an arc, but we're not going to stake out every 6 inches or every 2 feet, but I may pick some control points. I'm not going to pick the beginning and end, but I might pick some good points. So the question is, do you want to interpolate? So yes, we're going to interpolate, and then I'm going to click here and 311, and maybe here, interpolate, pick here, top of wall 309. And I'm just going to end right over here. Let's do two more. Interpolate and end 300. If we want to look at that, or we need to make some changes, come over to the civil package, 3D data, and edit assign polyline elevation. So I'm going to pick that line. Now you can see all my vertices are checked on, my control points are key points. That's interpolated, so it's not checked on. But these are basically the elevations over here and the slopes. So we went from 304, big slope over here, drop off. Oh yeah, it's dropping off over here. You can see it's going from 311 to 300. So this wall is dropping down. And when you're good, if I click it, it's a 3D polyline. Okay, so colors. Let's talk about colors. So yellow, although the Captivate controller screen is you can see all the colors. Some colors in a bright day still are hard to see. So I will often change the colors to something a little bit more friendly to the eye. White, it will present as black, or so anything bright like cyan starts getting to the point where it's legible, but it's not So, I will pick something, you can say white, you can pick something brown. Alright, so I got a brown here, and we'll do the same thing for the text. Maybe I'll just go white. Oops. Yeah, we'll leave the driveway white, it's fine, which will present as black. We can also do contours. So if I click this contour 314, I can elevate the contour. So if the idea is to stake out contours too, so you've got this break line, you're going to have your field surveyor stake out every vertice. Maybe you want to give them the contours, so I will make sure that my contours are elevated as well. Alright, again, text is a text, it's not a group text. If I pick any of these are all, so that's an M text. So if this was the case, this was an M text, I would just basically explode that, so now it's text. That's M text, but I'm not going to, the field survey doesn't care about the map and area, so the only thing he cares about is the lot number, the top of wall. So when we're doing stakeout for excavation, he's confirming that the elevation on the stakes is 313.76, and cut grades to him 313.76. When he does a foundation as built, he runs over, he shoots his corners of his foundation, and he confirms that the top of wall is good with the proposed grade. And if he sees anything, he has the ability to notify the office immediately that there's an issue, but at least he knows he can make that quality control check, whether it be checking into a benchmark if his foundation was low, maybe making some extra measurements just to make sure that the elevation that he's providing the office for a foundation as built is correct and not on an error. So knowing that elevation is very helpful. Again, the lot number. Alright, so we know that we're going to send the field some information. We don't need to send him every little thing, but we can at least send him a bunch of information. Blocks do come in, like manholes and stuff like that. So you can play with blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and do a W block. And I'm going to set this up to go to the office, to the field. So I'm going to pick the envelope. I'm going to go ahead and pick the foundation. So when this hole's open, we're going to be going back and we're going to actually be setting corners for this foundation. Then we're going to, I like the text because it gives the field surveyor the knowledge of all what's going on this property, on this foundation. He doesn't really care about decks, but maybe I do, or maybe I don't, but I could include the deck if I wanted to. Let's assume that maybe in a few months from now we will be coming back to do the grading around the property, so I will include the 3D polyline. I'm going to include some contours as a reference. We're going to stake out the center line of the retaining wall, so I'm going to include those as well. Maybe grab those contours. It's up to you whether you want to grab the dimensions, so he knows he's got 13.37 from here to here, and he can take out a tape measure and do again another quality check with an actual tape measure. So that's up to you. His controller will tell him that when he's staking out this point is 13.37 to this corner, as he advances from corner to corner. So that option is available, or an option he can turn on in his controller. You can include it as kind of just a visual if you want. So in this case I will include these. I'm not going to send him the walkout hatch line. I'll send him the driveway because we have to do the driveway and the sidewalk. And I'm not going to give him the property lines because he already has the property lines. He's already staked it out he already has it as the base map. But if you feel you need to provide him a property line because you didn't give him the base map, then sure enough, if you want to, you can go ahead and run a 2D polygon around the the property, and then supply him with a property line at the same time. So as you can see, everything is selected and ready to be exported to a DXF format. Okay, so again, same place. This time we're going to call this lot 10. Yes. You can do stuff where you can go, you can give the center of a manhole the center manhole in a 3D line. So every vertice is a manhole with the pipe inverts, if you want to do something like that. Those are options. Okay, so if you look at our folder now, I have the base, and I screwed up. So we're going to W block. You want to make sure you remember to do this. Lot 10. Select objects. Previous. There we go. Okay, so now you've created, there it is, you've got a lot 10 DXF and a DXF base. So these two files need to be sent over to the field surveyor so that he can use them in his job. So that pretty much wraps up setting up or converting, or however you want to look at it, getting the information from an Autocad drawing to your field surveyor. And I'll give you a quick demonstration on how or what it looks like to the field surveyor in the field. Okay, so we have a job now that has some DXFs loaded. So one thing I wanted to point out that I didn't say earlier is when you get in the habit of doing DXFs, you want to think about the naming so that when your field surveyor goes looking for these files to be attached, that it's easy for him to get to. Lot 10 is good for this exercise, but I may have 12 subdivisions with 12 lot 10s, so not knowing which subdivision by putting an acronym at the beginning or a job number at the beginning as a reference. So job 31111 lot 10 would probably be ideal, or PH for the subdivision acronym, lot 10, something that they can reference. So again, think about the naming. So I'll show you what they're going to see when they go to add these files. So when they start getting into a controller that has lots of DXFs, they've got to kind of run through and find these DXFs to add. So once they've added the DXFs and they store it, they come over to that 3D viewer. Here's the subdivision. If I zoom in, they know that this house is lot 10 is the task. Alright, lot 10, there's your wall, there's your dimensions. Again, you can see how the text works. I can pick different things that I'm going to stake out, the intent, contour, whatever they want. They have this ability to, and they'll see themselves kind of walking around, staking out this corner, staking out that corner, staking out that corner, so they can physically see the work they're doing. But you can see how I changed this to text. The text was white in the drawing, and now it's black. You can see how the cyan is it's there, it's visible. I'm not saying it's not a problem, but like I said, it's not as prominent as magenta or blue or in green. You can see how you're starting to lose the colors. They're there, but it's a little bit more difficult than a bolder color. So I'll tend to change my colors before export or creating the W block, just to make it easier for the field surveyor. I know some of the offices will also change any line that's a 3D line. So we know that this wall, as we stake it out, is changing elevations, or we know that this line, which is black right now, which is the center line of the swale, is also there. If I click it, you can see how it's there. It's black. So maybe red. Red could be more of a universal color that if they see red, they know they have a 3D vertices or changing vertices. You know, you can come up with some kind of color coordinating system. You know, all your foundations are magenta, all your boxes are blue, all your contours are this, all your text is white or black. So, you know, think about colors too that can be used as a kind of a defining exactly what they're trying to stake out. So it gives them information without them actually even knowing. So I could have wrote on this with a D-text, I could have wrote in little letters CL wall TOW, you know, and they would know that this line is the center line of the wall at top of wall. You know, just like over here, like this text, I could have just added that text right there, and they would know when they stake out this line, even if it's from 6 months from now, that this line represents the center line of the wall at the top of wall. All right, you know, doing the calc today, and then they don't get to the retaining wall for 6 months, they're going to be asking you, what was that line for the wall? Is it bottom of wall? Is it face of wall? So a lot of times when I do certain things, I'll actually add some extra text to say that this line represents something particular. Again, center line of wall, top of wall is this example. This is a center line swale, you know, and like I said, every vertex is selectable. So again, when I zoom out, I have the whole entire subdivision right there, so I can run over as you start to see these lots appear. If you're working in one job and you're bringing in all your lots one by one, you will start to see which lots are being built and which lots are vacant. Or you can pretty much start a new job for lot 10, a new job for lot 11, a new job for lot 12, and bring in the base map every time and always have it as a point of reference. So that's up to your field surveyor and you how you want to set up the jobs, but this gives you an idea what they will be seeing. Alright, so I hope that works for you. I hope you get a good understanding on how DXFs work. I can go ahead, you know, I can jump up back to my Autocad drawing and export some more information. If the construction manager says, oh, I also need the patio in the back, whatever, you can keep on, you can just keep on piling on DXFs and just keep on attaching them, and they have the ability to kind of pick and check out the layer structure, the lot lines, the proposed house, so I can tell them, make that hidden, and when I say store, now you can see the proposed house is gone. One thing you got to remember is if this foundation was being staked out for a marketing use and it turns out that they didn't buy this particular house, you know, and a month later you're staking out another foundation in the same spot, you want to make sure that you remind your field surveyor to clean out the old information. You don't want him having two foundations and trying to figure out which foundation is the correct one for stakeout. One was the one for marketing, but then there's the one that's actually being built for construction. So just remember what you provide to your field surveyor, that they clean it out before they bring in the new CAD, so that there's no confusion. Alright, so I hope this works for you. I hope you get a good understanding of how DXFs work. The benefit of DXFs, as I said, it gives the field surveyor a lot more power to be able to, whether it be offsets or maintaining quality control on the elevations. You know, there's just so much more, you know, to provide just points doesn't really paint the whole picture. This is such a great tool, and I hope it helps you in your office out. So, like my video and subscribe to my page. Thanks for watching.